Hey again, my name is Josh Download and welcome back. Today we're going to do something a little special. I have this CRT TV here that I play all my old games on, and it's that special time of year, Halloween. So let's look at a light gun game, and not just any light gun game, Vampire Knight for the PS2, a port of the Namco arcade game from 2001. Wait, 2001? Well anyway, unfortunately I have a confession to make. I own a GunCon 2. Two of them in fact. But I don't own the composite cable required to use them, which I didn't realize until I was going to make this video. So, we're getting classic with the original GunCon. Oh yeah! Let's hook this bastard up and turn this son of a bitch on. First things first, we need to calibrate this GunCon. Luckily, the accessory was well designed. It's not internally calibrated. It's calibrated by pointing the gun at the screen, aiming at the crosshair and pulling the trigger. The GunCon uses the composite cable attached to it to generate a crosshair for where the gun is pointing toward the screen after the initial shot. And it uses the input in controller port 1 to control the game. This means that the GunCon is calibrated every single time you start a game. Handy considering this thing is about 30 years old, so it shouldn't ever really have a problem. Fingers crossed anyway. Interesting to note, if you happen to own the manual to Vampire Knight, it'll detail how to hook up each GunCon controller, which is actually how I found out that I didn't have the cable required to hook up my GunCon 2s. With the logistics out of the way, let's watch this gorgeous intro and let the early 2000s wash over us all.
Who shall live, and who shall die? Vampire Knight.
Fantastic, isn't it? Alright, let's do this shit. Booting it up, you'll be greeted with a few options. Arcade, Special Mode, Training, Hunter Files, Ranking, and Options. Really quick, if you jump into Options, you can recalibrate the controller if need be. It also gives you access to the game's settings, which allows you to bump up your lives, credits, and even set the difficulty. That's pretty handy information. I don't know anything about this game, only having the vaguest memories from my childhood, and they might not even be real. So maybe we should try out some training before we jump in. Training mode is designed to address the main mechanics the game thrusts upon you. Accuracy, shooting enough small targets in the time limit. Consistency, shooting a number of targets a specific number of times. Speed, shoot one target a hell of a lot. There are 3 stages to each training section. Beat them all and you're rewarded with an item to use in special mode, which I'll get to later. It's an amazing way to get you used to shooting. I was initially skeptical, but after not playing a light gun game in years, since I beat Time Crisis 2 in an arcade, it made me confident in the road ahead. Alright, enough farting around. Arcade, here we come. Right away, the first thing you'll probably notice is the voice acting. And my fucking god, is it glorious.
We're here at last.
Yes. How long I've waited for this moment.
Drink that in. I'll come back to the voice acting in a while. The game doesn't fuck around. Almost immediately, you're dropped into shooting things. Blasting the legions of the undead with a gun is much more efficient than the stupid whip. Besting enemies makes the game move at a reasonable pace. However, I did notice that you have to kill all the guys on the screen to progress. I found that interesting. Like a typical on-rails shooter, enemies travel fast and they choreograph their movements, but it's still a challenge to get them before they get you. A well-designed on-rails shooter establishes enemy types and then hurls them at you at the most inconvenient of times. They're extremely sink or swim because they're arcade games, striking that balance of keeping the player in the game and making them pay for it. Initially, enemies go down with 1 or 2 shots, but what filled me with a bit of dread was the health bar that kept popping up. You just know there's going to be some ridiculous bullet sponges. I can hear my forearm crying already. The game is separated into chapters, and in between each chapter you're treated to some semblance of a story.
Might have been expected of a vampire hunter.
As expected, not bad.
It's as paper thin as you can imagine, though I won't entirely spoil it for you.
Interesting. Let's see them do better.
Each chapter, besides chapter 1, has a boss to shoot the shit out of. Conveniently, the intro movie has a roll call of the bosses. The Knight. The Genius. Dark Mind. Queen of Ice. And the Vampire. Not Dracula, though. Can't believe you thought that. He doesn't even look like the Dark Lord Dracula. Jeez. Thinking that he's Dracula. Come now. The chapters are somewhat themed around the bosses of that level. The Knight has a castle full of knights.
Stay back.
Queen of Ice has an ice palace. The Genius has a castle full of mages and weird guys. Dark Mind is basically the same as the Genius, and I won't spoil the final stage. That's for you to find out. Chapter 1 doesn't have a boss and is very quick. It's a short tutorial stage, basically, and it establishes an important enemy type, humans turning into vampires. They're mentioned in the manual too, with some specifics and suggestions on how to defeat them. According to... little girl... These G-Virus eyeballs turn humans into vampires, so you have to be accurate and shoot just the eyeball, otherwise the humans transform into a vampire. This makes them have a lot more health and become noticeably faster, though I never had that much of an issue. The main reason you want to save the humans is to get an extra life in between the levels. They give you a huge bump in points and basically guarantee an extra hit in case you dunce it. So the game doesn't just demand fast shooting, it also forces you to stop, take a breath, and shoot accurately. It's a delicate balance. A quick trigger finger for the regular undead can be thrown out the window when a human villager drops into your line of fire. Take too long to realize and you'll forgo that extra life potential, which is something you really want to avoid because, man. I did pretty good, but holy crap, it hurt my arm. Which brings to light a really unfortunate issue. Statistically speaking, you don't own a CRT TV, a gun con, and this game. Therefore, the only way that you can experience a game like this is to go to an arcade. And how many arcades are going to have the staples like House of the Dead, Time Crisis, or Virtua Cop? And how many arcades are even going to have light gun games? It's one of the main reasons I collect video games and play on a CRT TV. It's like finding out about a game and not even being able to play it. Well, that was a really depressing note, but let's get back to the game. So, many different enemy types, but I've not discussed the bosses and how they work.
Amazing. Your power.
If you thought your fingers and arms were hurting just getting to the boss, each of the diabolical 5 devilishly demonic dominators have their specific fight sequences that can really drag sometimes. The first boss especially, which can only lead me to one conclusion. The first boss is meant to steal as much money as possible. Unlike all the other bosses, besides Dark Mind, the Knight has 3 phases. Two of which, the whole point is to make sure he doesn't hurt you. You heard me. The first phase, he runs at you slowly, and the idea is to shoot him as fast as possible to get the small red bar just below his health bar down to 0. It's a way to introduce the player to the exact mechanic I just described. A boss appears. Their health bar appears. Then, they will do things that will cause a red bar to appear below their health bar. For example, generating flying swords or something. If you shoot them enough in their specific weak point or in general, the red bar will deplete. Empty before they launch their attack will cease and they will be staggered. It is both a great and genuinely terrible game mechanic. Risk-reward is the ideal description. Can you shoot them fast enough to stagger them and deal considerable damage? Or will you fail and lose a life for your wasted effort? The second phase, he's running towards you in the woods, launching attacks indeterminately. It is much harder to get the red bar down here. Seems to be a better idea just to wait it out until the phase ends. Next and last phase, you're inside of a church for no reason. The knight transforms into a ripoff of Castlevania Rondo of Blood's Dracula, and you'll notice a nice graphic that shows you its weak point. If you remember, we saw that weak point graphic with the G-Virus eyeballs from the villagers in Chapter 1. It's a way that the game aids you in hurting the boss, and more specifically, getting that red bar to 0. When the boss finally shows itself and it's the true fight, the weak point is the only place you should shoot, and it'll cause the red bar to drop extremely quickly, staggering the boss and disallowing the attack to finish, giving you a couple of seconds to ready yourself. Don't be so quick to take a break though. Stagger the boss after the attack is coming towards you and you'll have to deal with that too. There are branching paths as well. Not every level is finished the same way and it changes up the pathing from then on, until the end of the game. Another staple of on-rails shooters. It makes replay sessions more interesting.
Wait! Take me with you!
And largely that's what the game is. Rinse and repeat for the other chapters. The various enemy types keep you on your toes, and if your trigger finger isn't fast enough, you'll definitely see the game over screen before making it to the final chapter. There is an option to give yourself extra lives and credits, aka continues, so it's not so bad, and there is an option to change the difficulty, which I did try. Changing the difficulty hardly changes anything about the game. I'm not kidding. You may find that you do more damage on occasion, but for the most part, you won't notice a difference. Unless you make it harder, of course. Which I don't have footage of, because fuck that, my arms hurt enough already. The last thing to cover, gameplay-wise, is the special mode. And here's where the disappointment began. Mostly myself and the unfortunate decision I made of playing arcade mode first, and so much. Special mode is just arcade mode, but with some differences.
Hey, mister!
1. There are items you can use during the game. 2. There's a shop to buy items. 3. You cannot change the difficulty unless it's with an item. 4. And possibly the biggest change, there are missions during normal gameplay. When you boot up special mode, the vampire hunters will be stopped by a random person and they'll give you a mission. These missions can include saving a villager from the G-Virus, finding a normal item during gameplay,
Mission complete!
finding some specific landmark, and so on. This is an amazing idea. I absolutely love the tension it creates when you're trying to find, save, or shoot what you need to as you're blasting those monsters. Except it's marred and all but undone by one baffling decision from the developers.
Hey, mister!
You only get one mission when you start special mode. You do not get more missions during gameplay. You have to get a game over or beat the game to get another. Special mode is just missions and a couple of items during arcade mode.
We were waiting for
So, say you complete the mission in the first few minutes of the game.
Mission complete!
For it to count, you either have to get killed and let the continue timer tick to 0, or go through the entire game and beat it. I cannot fathom why this decision was made, but I can hazard a guess. Sheer laziness. The developers just added missions to arcade mode and called it a day. It's really unfortunate because it's such a fantastic idea. If it was complete the mission and beat the chapter, that would have fixed this entire problem. But that would require changing the arcade mode they slapped in. Honestly, the less said about special mode, the better. After going through arcade mode a few times and getting excited for the prospect and potential of special mode, then being so disappointed, I had my fill. Aesthetically, the game looks passable. Some models look pretty great, especially the bosses. And the villagers transforming into vampires looks fantastic. There's some 2D trees and the like around the place, but I think that's largely a design decision from the arcade, to make sure the game runs at a steady and fast frame rate. The important thing that the graphics should do in an on-rail shooter like this is not detract and distract from the gameplay. The second most important thing is, what you need to shoot is clear and obvious. The only time that's arguably not the case is during special mode. A keen eye is important, and those missions are designed that way on purpose, to make sure they're not a cakewalk. It's not super colourful. It's fairly drab and dreary. Lots of grey stone, brown dirt, dark green trees. The enemies are similarly grey, black, brown, etc. Until you get to Chapter 5, the Ice Palace. The main things that are brightly coloured up until that point are the boss's attacks, for the most part. Altogether, it makes for a pretty underwhelming experience in the visuals department. The Ice Palace isn't enough to bring up the imaginary graphics score that I'm pretending to write in a magazine from the early 90s that doesn't exist. I definitely don't hate the way it looks, but it's not winning any awards. I directly compare it to my favourite on-rail shooter, Virtua Cop 2, but unfortunately I don't own it. I played the shit out of it when I was a kid, but that's a story for another time. I just remember it being a lot more colourful and flashy than Vampire Knight, which is a problem that a lot of these games have, when they're going for that dark, spooky, but action tone. Just because your game is a gritty shooter doesn't mean you can't use colour.
Little one. What you said may be true. Thank you. And farewell.
Okay. I've put this off long enough. Let's discuss the voice acting.
Humans? How vain can you be? Enough! You humans disgust me!
Interesting. Let's see them do better.
Isn't that the most delightful sound that's ever been blessed upon your soul? Something I don't understand is why this was okay back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Like, how was this allowed to pass?
Wait! Who are you?
We hunt the creatures of the dark.
Vampire hunters.
Like, are you sure that was a good enough take? You don't want to maybe add some actual emotion?
Hasn't he suffered enough? Humans suffer.
Maybe seem to care at all about what you're saying? I mean, come on!
Live your life as a human.
Did they just get some people on the development staff to voice the characters? Everyone who lived through those days when this was the norm just accepts it. And I mean, I get it, there's no changing it now, but it's always been something that bugged me. Some people even look back on it with rose-colored glasses, which I also understand. Sometimes it's endearing, and a lot of the time it's funny. I'd love to say, yeah, that was the whole point, to get a laugh. But how can you perform something this bad on purpose?
Thank you for rescuing me.
There's no need to thank us. We're here too.
They're coming.
I am absolutely not going to hold this delicious, delectable, disastrous voice acting against the game though. Especially this kind of game. I mean, are you kidding? It's a game where you're gunning down legions of the undead. Does it really need incredible performances from the likes of Crispin Freeman, Jennifer Hale, Chris Sabat, or Max Middleman? I'll tell you what does sound good though. Shooting. The gunshots are fantastically crisp and punchy, making it satisfying to unleash hell. The boss's moves often crackle and bang pleasantly, alerting you to when it's time to pay attention and attempt to keep from being dead. The music is also a spectacle, and definitely in a good way. It's not heavy, overtly synthy, or full of cheesy overdriven guitars. It's grandiose, sweeping, and orchestral. It lends itself very well to the mayhem that goes on screen. It's appropriately gothic in tone and could really be accompanied by some fast black metal chords and blast beats. And that's about it. For all the issues I had with special mode and the minor gripes about the difficulties and the lack of color and the voice acting, Vampire Knight is a fantastic arcade game. Especially today. The novelty of holding a plastic gun, pointing at your TV and pulling the trigger to shoot things in the game brings a childlike joy and transports you right back to less stressful days. A time when your main concerns were having enough money for the arcade and a flake quake shake from Donut King. As an older adult now, what the game demands of you and your muscles is definitely taxing, but that can be combated with regular breaks. It's a fantastic pick up and play kind of game, like all great arcade games. Marathoning it definitely put a strain on me, but I enjoyed every single second. Special mode aside. If you're deep into the collecting hobby, or you're a new starter finding their feet, and you don't own a CRT TV, I recommend you scout around to try and find one, to play gems like this game. You might not think it's worth it to make room for one if you have limited space, just to be able to pick up a light gun and start shooting, but this kind of experience is being lost to the annals of time. If collectors of old media like me aren't going to experience games like this, then who will? Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next review.